Hello, everybody, and welcome. We at the USAEL are excited to kick off today's edition of Careers in Esports.
Believe it or not, this is episode 15 in our recurring series that aims to provide students, educators, and esports enthusiasts with a unique opportunity to explore a variety of jobs and career pathways in esports.
And you all should know the deal by now. Every month, we talk to a different expert from the world of esports and gaming. This roster includes professional players, coaches, game developers, tournament organizers, and others to give our listeners firsthand insights and expert advice on pursuing a career in the gaming industry.
Our guest list is full of industry veterans, stemming from companies and organizations that have established a significant presence in the space. Blizzard Entertainment, Riot Games, Bungie, and Noman School of Effects, just to name a few.
But as usual, let's begin with some introductions. I'm Rich Conti.
And I'm Peter Poliglov.
And we are your recurring hosts for the Careers in Esports podcast.
Rich, are you excited to introduce our next guest?
Oh, you know it, Peter. Today we have a special treat for any up-and-coming artists and listeners with an affinity for gaming visuals, character, or concept art. Without further ado, it's my privilege to introduce to our audience Cullen Swenson, a 2D and 3D character and concept artist and a graduate of the Noman School of Visual Effects. Cullen, thank you for being here today.
It's a pleasure to be here, guys. I am super excited to be a part of this.
Some highlights from Cullen's career include studying at the Noman, which is often called the MIT of visual effects, building a comprehensive portfolio of his work and offering services through his website, cullenswenson.com, and working as a 3D animation teacher with the Kern High School District.
Cullen, it's good to see you here today. And kind of to start us off, could you tell our listeners a little bit about what Noman is all about and why it's such a big name in the industry?
Oh, 100%. I can talk about Noman all day. So Noman is super fantastic. Basically what it is, it started as a smaller school, but has slowly expanded and recently moved campuses, actually. So if you get a chance ever and you're in the California, LA area, you can go visit their new campus. They do monthly seminars and lectures and all that stuff that I'm pretty sure are open to the public. If they're not, they can yell at me. But in general, it's super cool school. Basically, you get to learn from all the industry professionals that have worked on things like Iron Man, Avatar, God of War, Last of Us, basically any big title game or movie you've ever heard of. Those are your instructors. And they'll work on that during the day, and then they'll teach their classes at night or on the weekends, which makes the school schedule a little weird, but it is a super fun atmosphere anyway. Yeah, that's a good breakdown of it.
Awesome. And speaking of gaming, let's go ahead and jump right into our first question. Cullen, what role has gaming played in your life? Where did that passion start and how did it evolve?
I love that you chose these pictures. I know we didn't discuss which ones you're grabbing, but gaming has been a part of my life for a very long time. It got introduced to me back when I was a kid with GameCube and all that stuff, and just playing on the couch with friends, playing Halo, all of that. And the piece on the left is actually a concept art painting that I did for my D&D campaign. So just gaming outside of just video games, all this stuff, just it keeps feeding back into what I do digitally. And that's super fun for me. So all of that right there is my friends' characters. I just went back and forth with them to kind of figure out designs, all of that stuff. And we slowly built out this painting that I ended up printing for all of them. And we got that going. So gaming is not just just playing video games. To me, it's it's learning sports even. It's it's going out, it's trying to be competitive. And in general, it just games are a way that I like to live, which sounds weird, but it is just, they're just fun. They're fun and they get you to learn things. So, yeah.
I think having a concept artist in your D&D campaign is the biggest flex. That is super cool. If I could ask, Cullen, what are some of your favorite games to play right now?
Right now, I've been playing God of War. RuneScape Dragon Wilds just came out as a beta, and that's been really fun. The other ones I've been playing with some friends, Marvel Rivals has been a good one. I've played Destiny and Destiny 2 for the last like 10, almost 11 years now. I'm taking a brief break from that one just because it does get a little more involved. But yeah, those are kind of like my big ones. So I'd say like Destiny, RuneScape, obviously D&D, and then Marvel Rivals and like those kind of like competitive games like Call of Duty and stuff like that. Also Tekken, huge fan of Tekken. So
Are there any skills you learned in gaming that you've applied in your everyday life?
in my everyday life, yes. I also so this is a kind of an interesting way to think about games, and this is how I think about them. I'll have like the core things that I do, and I don't see games as just like I'm gonna go do this thing and then like it doesn't affect me later. I've made a lot of friends in games. Actually, the person I lived with in college, I met because we played Destiny, and he lived like way south and like where I was living, so in Colorado at the time. And we ended up living together at some point in college. We ended up attending the same college, and it was just because like we kept that connection. We still keep that connection. He's the person I even have the D&D campaign with and that like group of friends. So it's been like 12 years, and like no matter where we're living in the world, it's like you still have those social connections that you can meet up every once in a while. And that's like something that I think gaming fosters pretty well since it's online. Sometimes expanding those circles gets a little difficult on like different platforms, but in general, yeah, gaming is like it's affected my social life. It's affected just how I see the world, how much I like process and like how fast I process data or even like make decisions, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And jumping into our next question, I'll pass it over to Richie.
Yeah, this one's going into a little bit more on your career. Why did you choose to pursue a career in concept and 3D art in the first place?
Originally, I went to school. So I went to Noman for like kind of the master's program as a digital certificate in um, design. Um, but I went to school originally for what was it? Computer science. And then I transferred into electronic art. So I was learning more like video, film, all that stuff, recording sound. And it's just like that world, it hit a point where I realized like for the longest time, I didn't really even know what 3D was. I saw somebody like making a tree in 3D. And I was like, what is that? And then I was like, oh, that looks kind of scary. And I ended up like doing it anyway. I did like ZBrush. And I found that as kind of like my intro into 3D, which might not be normal. And that's like more of like a digital sculpting software. But why did I do concept art and characters in the first place? Since I was a child, I would draw and design characters and shapes and all this stuff. And I decided, like, at one point it clicked for me. I was like, I could turn these like triangles and squares into like designs and creatures and all of this stuff. And then, like, as I learned more about games and even watched movies, like, one that always sticks out for me is even just Pirates of the Caribbean, right? Like Davy Jones and the tentacle face. I always loved designs like that. So, diving more into that, it's just characters always became the center focus of what I would look at in games, and I always get interested in like how my character looks. Like you guys probably know, like buying skins and all of that stuff in games is huge. It makes a lot of money. Fortnite makes money because like they sell so many skins. So people are obviously interested in characters, and that was just like something that I was like, I love the design of all this stuff, and just there's so much that goes into it, and it feels like it you never stop learning. So I think that's why I really did choose it.
Colin, could you talk a little bit about the some of the different pathways that there are for 3D or game artists, like character versus environment, hard surface, soft surface? What are some of the different branches? And it sounds like you chose characters because you've been doing traditional drawing characters since you were young. But
Mm-hmm.
what are some of the other pathways out there as well?
So other pathways that are out there, depending, it's gonna sound kind of like it's like vaguely elitist, but it's like depending on how good you are, you could make almost any job a thing in this space. Like if you're really good at recording sounds, you could do that professionally. You literally could just like hit rocks with other rocks and like that gets recorded. Um, That's like on the far end. But in general, like the things that you would get hired for probably right out the bat would be like environment design, designing little props of making like headphones and stuff like that. Things that would go on characters, even possibly like bonus outfits. Environment design is one of them. You can be a grooming specialist, which I don't know why they chose that word, but it's like messing with hair and all that stuff digitally. I That's a thing. So people that make all the hair and all of that for, like, say, Lion King, or even Frozen, where they have like Elsa's hair, all that crazy stuff. Tangled, that's another one. Um, and then in video games, that would be like more messing with like hair cards and like those kind of like simulation things. And you could just do that. You could literally just do hair. You can be a rigging artist. So someone that like puts the bones inside of all of like the 3D models. That can involve like animating stuff in environments. That could involve pretty much anything you could think of that would move, probably has some sort of rig on it. And then, like I said, animation too, right? So someone who's given all of these like cool characters, cool environments, cool rigs, and they're just like, I like making stuff move. I like bringing life into all of that. That's like probably the other big like category. So it's like three big ones would be like characters, environments. Environments is probably one of the bigger categories to get into because people always need them. Characters would be like a little harder to get into because there's not as many characters in a game, and there's usually a lot more environments or just a bigger space that needs to be filled by like more people, right? Not saying like environment artist is easy. It's just there's so much of it that has to happen. Like even like I like using movies as examples because like let's say we all saw like Infinity War. Like there was Iron Man, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Hulk, whatever. But it's like they fought in like 40 different environments. You start in like a subway, and then like at the end you're fighting like in space and all this stuff. And all those environments have to be made by somebody. So yes, I think that was a long-winded answer, but did that
No,
help?
that really does kind of open our eyes to all the different specializations and all the different niches, right, of art.
Mhm.
Because as you said, even when you think back to Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, right, Davy Jones with all the tentacles with that beard, there had to be a specialist that
Yep.
animated all of that movement. And obviously in video games, it's the same thing. When you're looking at the difference between working on digital art as opposed to sculpting or more traditional art, are there any kind of nuances we might not be aware of?
What do you mean by nuances? Because yes, there are differences and crossovers for sure.
Other than, I guess, the major difference that one, you're working with your hands, you're working with a like a physical object, right? The other is a digital art. Are there any other differences that we might not be aware of?
Okay. So the biggest one I think is weird that people don't catch on to right away. When you make stuff digitally, it looks really clean, really fast. When you work physically, it looks really dirty, really quick. This is kind of like, so it's like when you're working physically, you're doing your best to try to make it look as clean as possible, but you have like all these little imperfections as you go because you're trying to do each little step. When you're working in like digital, things look really perfect right away, and you're doing your best to like mess it up. You're trying to push more towards like kind of like a broken ish object. Like if you push it too far, then it's just like that looks terrible. But you're trying to like push it more towards like the thing with imperfections that started perfect. Where in like reality, it's like you take like a blank sheet of paper and you're like, cool, I got to turn this into like the Mona Lisa, right? So you're covering up stuff, you're going over it, you're making like tiny mistakes and all that. And where I'm going with this is when you're working digitally and you're trying to make stuff look real or like it fits in a game, you're trying to hit like a specific style, right? And in reality, you're just like, I need to paint to try to like match what I'm seeing. It's kind of like, yeah, I think that makes sense. You're trying to do different things in each medium, but it's like the better you are at painting, the better you'll be at doing textures in games, guaranteed. Like once you figure out the like digital tools, you're a monster. Like there's people that are just like, they do like airbrushing, and you give them like a Wacom tablet and an XP pen or something, and they're going crazy. You're like, yeah, you get infinite colors. And they're like, say less. So
Do you
yeah.
prefer one over the other, and why?
I for different things. So if I'm trying to make concepts or like quick sketches, I'll usually start with paper just because it feels better, and like the little bit of like, again, like inconsistencies that happen right away usually feed my brain. If I'm trying to like make quicker designs, I'll work with like, especially for concept, I'll work with like symmetry in digital, because then it's just like it feels like the Rorschach blot test thing right away, where you start making like pictures and you're like, oh, I see that. I was like, oh, that's cool. You just kind of go with it. And you're only really working on like one side at a time, but it's making like a full picture for you. So it's like it depends on like what I'm trying to elicit out of myself, will dictate where I work in that regard.
That's really neat, and I like the dirty to clean analogy. The difference on physical versus digital.
Mm-hmm.
Colin, if I may ask a question on your career, what was sort of your first sort of like foot in the door in terms of a 3D artist gig?
But in the door, I do a lot of volunteering. So it's like sometimes you have to make the job yourself, right? Because it's like people like even this, like I'm trying to explain to you guys what 3D is. So if you don't know what 3D is, you don't know what you can do with it. So it's like my first, like, I guess, big gig was I was working at a parkour gym. So I was a coach doing parkour, and I was like learning at Noman and all that stuff. And I was like, right away, I was like, I can do something with this. I'm gonna sell it to them, and we're gonna make like our first like real like big visual. So I did like the promo video for that gym many years ago at this point, and that was kind of like my first foot in the door of like I can do this professionally, because like I was getting feedback from them the whole time, and I was in school and I was doing homework and I was like and I was coaching for them, and I was just like I need to get this project done. I want it to look as good as possible, and I'm gonna pitch it because I see the vision that they might not like know it could even exist, right? So it's like, what jobs can you make for yourself is kind of like a big one, and then just kind of going from there.
It makes a lot of sense. And jumping into our next question, kind of looking at more of the behind the scenes. Can you tell us about the day to day as a concept artist and then as a animation instructor?
Cool. So I'm not just a concept artist. Like I do concepts art, and then I like take it through like the whole pipeline. So one of the current projects I've been on for the last few years, we started it because I did a concept, kind of like it was just like this could happen, and we're like we're gonna run with it. So now we're many years down the road still doing that, and like I've been part of it, and it's just like you're making paintings, you're doing digital like Photoshop, you're working at night while you work during the day. It's like it's like if you love it, you love it, and you just want to keep doing it, right? Um, and then from there, it's like you do concepts, you can do your modeling, you can do your texturing, rendering, lighting, rigging, all that fun stuff. So you're just like stacking on stacking. And again, that's what excites me. But as an educator, what happens kind of day to day for me, it's I'm I'm teaching them how to use the software, but I'm acting more like a studio director, right? Like I have a bunch of like currently our current projects are they're working on their finals, and every day we come in, I give them like their lesson for the day, and then they have their lab time to work on their current projects. And they have like little mini studios that they're all kind of functioning in. So we're calling them studios, but it's like that's their group, and they have their big project. I'll go around giving them like critiques, all that stuff, being like, you could go this way. That's gonna be a problem down the line. We should probably fix that now. I'll hop in, help them, make sure that they're good to go and they're like strong and ready to like pursue this after, and just giving them the tools to want to do this in the future, right? Like a lot of it's just like, yes, this is hard, it is scary, but it's also like, if it's not impossible, even though it feels like there's like 5 million softwares sometimes, but Blender's slowly closing that gap. But yeah, so day to day, it's just working with kids, teaching them what I know, showing them what I love, and going from there.
For you, what would you say the difference is between working for within a studio or operating freelance? Have you had experience with both? Is there one that you prefer more than the other?
Most of my work has been freelance. especially because like a lot of it happened like post COVID and all that. So it's like working from home, gonna get jobs like that. Um, the hard thing, so it's like we do like group meetings and all of that stuff to kind of keep up with each other and make sure everyone's like on task. You're doing like your text messaging, you're sending emails, you're sending files. You have to really be on it, especially if you're working at home by yourself, because like we can all like slip into the hole of like I need to like I'm gonna scroll my phone or something like that, right? So it's just like it's showing up to work when you're not at work and just trying to be like the best person for the job, no matter where you are or how you're working. Um, because if you get distracted, then that's just like it's kind of like lost time. Like I don't think all distraction is bad distraction. Sometimes you need to read a book for 10 minutes because you've been staring at a screen all day. Like it is good to take breaks, but as long as they're like kind of planned breaks, that's like what you want to be doing in your flow day to day, and just making sure you have like little habits. So I'll get coffee, right? And then I'll start my thing.
Get those Pomodoro timers going.
Exactly. They're so stressful, but they get me working faster.
And typically, how closely do you work with other parts of the team when it comes to working on the game or working on the project? The animators, maybe the level design, the game balance people?
uh, Depending on where you are in the pipeline, you're kind of working with the people like above and below you, but you also have to know where your assets are going, right? So say you are the person that is like first in line. The first person in line would be like the modeler, right? Like they would have to make like the first, like, or I guess concept art would be before that. So concept artist goes first, modeler would usually come second, and they need to work relatively quick to get a good like base mesh or something to give off to the rigging people. Because if rigs don't have anything to work with, animators don't have anything to work with, right? Environments kind of just like work around all of this in general, but it's like for that like kind of pipeline, it's like you need the models first. Because once that happens, texture artists can get their stuff done, rigging artists can start working on their stuff, animators can do their thing. If somebody pipelines it or like pulls up the pipeline, then it is hard for it to get further down the line, right? And then you need like the lighters trying to like work on their stuff. It's just in general, you're working with the people like right above and below you, but hoping that you plan far enough ahead that the people way down the road aren't getting screwed over by your work, right? And then again, dealing with like your daily like feedback and all of that stuff, and then giving more tasks that you didn't expect, and just being on your toes constantly. So
That makes sense. That makes sense. And thank you for bringing up the example of your classroom. It sounds like your students are getting a lot of hands-on experience of what it would be like to work once they get to the actual workforce. That is so cool. But passing it over to Richie for our next question.
Yeah, and this next question is a little bit more general. So, what's it kind of like working in the gaming and digital art industry as a whole? And have you seen some things evolve in your time there so far?
what it's like working, like all industries, it's a little stressful. We're in kind of like a space right now where work is coming back a little bit stronger, especially because there was like kind of two big things that happened, right? There was like COVID, there was the little, not little, but the actor strike and like the Writers Guild stuff. But that stuff all showed up, and it's starting to like it's fading now. People are getting jobs, and what it's like working is like you'll get a job for a bit, especially if you're doing freelance. You'll hop on, you'll get contracted, whatever. You'll make your money, and then usually you'll kind of be like sent off. So you won't be like necessarily fired or like you'll never work there again. A lot of times you'll be rehired at the same location to be kept in. There's a lot of people who will move up in like positioning, right? So say you start at like a low end, or you're like you hop on as like I'm gonna do environments. If you're good, you could end up just moving up to like creative director. And I have plenty of friends who have moved up, and then they're given like positions where they can go, they can work remote or they can stay in. And like it's like it gets very flexible as long as you're willing to grow and kind of keep your skills fresh. And that's the other thing. So with all like these new tools coming out, all this like it's like AI is taking over. It's like it is and it isn't. Like the things we've been doing are the things that are going to be still happening with the projects that are currently running. Like GTA 6 started forever ago. Like right, like I'm not on that project, but they weren't worried about AI taking over when they started that project, and that's coming out next year. So it's like wherever you jump in on a project, like the pipe, like all this like scary stuff that people are like worried about, it's not a problem for a lot of studios because you might be hopping in on a project that's currently running, and that's not part of how they work. Right. So it's like if your work's good, it looks like the studio. Like if you want to work at Blizzard, you want to work at Bungie, you want to make things that look like what they make. Right. So kind of tailor your work towards that, but still be like, but I can also do all this other stuff. Like this is what I want to do. This is what I can do. This is my portfolio. What do you want from me? Right. So I think that answered most
And
of
our
it.
next question is actually, are there any new technologies available now that weren't around when you were starting out? But since you mentioned it, I'll just flat out ask you, what are your thoughts on AI and sort of game art and AI? And have you utilized it at all in your workflow, or do you see it becoming a part of your workflow?
I have used it. I don't, I've been talking to my students about it this week, actually. My big pushback on it is I don't think people should be like sharing the work they make with AI if it wasn't initially made by them. So I'm trying this new workflow where because people are like, oh, you can put your face in, you can take a picture of yourself, you can like turn it into like this style or whatever. You can make art first, you can paint, you can do this, and then you can take it, right? And you can put it into these softwares. People are like, oh, but it's like, this is like my issue. It's like, you can ask it to do a Pixar style, right? And it's like, okay, so clearly they sourced this stuff from Pixar. That's problematic. That's not cool because they're not getting paid for that. They're not getting paid for my art looking like their art. But then it's like, okay, if I do that, but I don't like take it and post it online, it's just kind of fun for me, right? Like I'm not like, oh yeah, this was me. I'm so good, blah, blah, blah. It's like I can make Pixar art. It's like, no, I didn't actually do that. But like that gives me a good direction to go. Like if I want to continue making my 3D model, right? Especially if you're doing 3D, you're doing games. Like if have you guys used any of like the AI 3D model generators? They're horrible. Like you get an image, you put it in, and you get this like really cooked model that's just like the topology is horrible. It kind of looks like it. It's a great base. You can start from there. But like if you don't know what you're doing, it's not going anywhere really. You got a cool start, fantastic, whatever. Just make sure it was like something you designed or you, I guess, with directed. Is like kind of the word I like to use for AI. It's like you're not like an AI creator. You didn't make that. You directed it to produce those pixels to an extent, right? Um, and I like to be open about this stuff just because if you are using it, like if you hide it, people are going to find out. And that's more problematic in my mind. It's like, oh yeah, I lied to you guys. Like, it's like, no, I use it. It's fun. I will constantly practice sculpting and drawing anyway. And that's the stuff I'm actually proud to share. So yeah.
Do you see any potential, I guess, solution to that or a compromise where students are still able to maybe use these tools, but maybe they're using models that were trained on exclusively, right? Not including any sort of kind of copyright or proprietary work, or making sure that there is a disclosure that, hey, this might contain some proprietary work?
Yes, you can train models. I haven't done a lot of it, but you can train them on your work. So you can actually like, I know a specific guy, and I don't like name dropping, but Xander Smith. He does this very extensively. He trains models. He's worked with AI for a very long time, and he will train it on his stuff. Like he's done a lot of work. He's like, this is how I make things. Help me make things faster that look like mine, and then I will take it and push it further with my skills. Right? Like it now becomes like more of like a base to start from, as opposed to like this is the finished product. Right. So it's like, okay, if I do like my drawing from here, I'm like, I want it to be like this, and I give it to AI, and I'm like, okay, now just like do some kind of cool stuff with it. I'm like, okay, I like these 90 things. I'm gonna take those 90 things and I'm gonna put them here. This is my workbench, and I'm gonna push that even further. Right. So it's like, what can I do before giving AI stuff to use, and not just be like, oh, make me something that looks like HR Geiger. Right. It's like, that was like his style. It's cool if you use that and then you like reference it, right? It's like it's infinite reference. Like it's hard to go online and look up like a sea whale that's spouting like crazy fireballs or whatever. But you can go on AI and be like, okay, I'm trying to like find a reference of like a realistic sea whale that like is blowing fire, and I'm going to use that to make my next piece. Like, right? Like it's more like really weird interactive Google in my eyes, and it's not like this is the final product. But yes, there is, I think, ethical ways to use it, and more thinking of it as like reference and inspiration is probably one of those avenues.
Absolutely. And bringing it back to the students and kind of the next generation of the workforce, what do you think students today should focus on to pursue a career in concept or character art and design?
Oh, everything. They should learn it all. They should start as a doctor and then find out that they love how bodies work. I don't know. In general, like if you want to do it, the first thing I would say is pick up 3D as soon as possible. Like if you like drawing, find something adjacent to that. If you the main thing you want to do, like if you know what you want to do, fantastic. You should be learning things alongside it, because that will only make you better at the thing you want to do. Like if you pick up like um painting, but you're like, I want to be like a digital artist, like I want to be a 2D painter, right? If you learn how to paint, or you learn how to like, this sound really weird, if you learn how to like study anatomy, or you learn how to like study skeletons, you're going to know a lot better how to draw your characters if you spend time outside of your comfort zone. If like all I draw is like anime characters, or all I draw is like hyper realistic creatures, maybe the 2D like anime drawer should spend some time trying to make a realistic creature, right? Like I know this isn't exactly the question right now, but it's just like stepping out of your comfort zone and then coming back to what you love is like, I think, the best feedback loop to doing that. And like I know people, like one of my best friends like literally went to college for neuroscience and then was like, nope, and then also went to Noman. So it's like you have all this background stuff, and it's like there's no perfect path there. But if you have like a really strong feeling that you want to do it, and this is another thing, like I'm seeing legal on here, and this kind of like popped up. I know people who literally are like the legal aids on like Fortnite or like for Epic Games, right? So it's like you can be in the games industry as even a health scientist. You could be the person that like shows up and does PT for the office. It's like, guys, we need to stand up. We're gonna go do this, and this is like a weekly thing. Or it's like we have a guy who does massage like in the studio, right? Like it's like you can be a part of it from pretty much every angle. Like again, I'm seeing like all this stuff on here, and I'm like, yeah, these are all very active. Like you could do software, you could do media, you could be the person who takes the art and just makes the cool videos that gets promoted, right? Like for Bungie, their stuff is so cool. Like their promo videos, fantastic. I love them. But I don't think those people making the promo videos are the ones that are making the models all the time. Like they're taking the cool stuff, they're getting the cool shots, and they're making a baller video for everyone to watch. So yeah, there's every avenue really into it. And again, it's just like if you're good at it, people are gonna want to work with you. If you're good, you're a kind person, you're gonna get jobs. So yeah.
In terms of game art, you mentioned ZBrush being one of the first tools you used. Are there, and you said that might not be the recommended, are there some that you would recommend to
Yes.
those who first start out?
I'm saying ZBrush isn't what I recommend because it's a lot right away, but I love that. So if you like being a little bit overwhelmed, fantastic avenue. The big one people like to hop in with is Blender because it is free. The other thing, if you want to learn Maya, that is a big one in a lot of places. Cinema 4D is another one. You can get academic licenses for those. If you're in school, you're in high school, you're in college, and you want to learn this stuff, you're like, that's a lot of money. Everyone says it's a lot of money. You can get it for free. You just have to be like, I go to school, like, and I want to learn this. I'm not making money with it. They're not going to be mad at you for just being like, yeah, I want to try your software, right? Try before you buy. So if you're like scared of the prices, they have deals that are like $60 a year for ZBrush. There's like free for Maya. There's Max on One, which has Cinema 4D. It has Redshift. It has ZBrush. And like in there, they have all the training modules too. And eventually I will have a YouTube channel that has more of like my stuff that I'm teaching in class, which is mostly Maya focused. And hopefully people can learn from it. But in general, yes. Blender is a big free one. A lot of people use it. Maya, if you are in school, is still a very good option, and everything you do in there is still going to apply to Blender. It's just going to be a little different. That's the other thing with 3D. If you've learned one thing in one place, it works in the other. You just got to find the right buttons. So Photoshop, learn how to mess with images. That's a good one. And then if you are really into textures and rendering, or you want to learn more about that, Marmoset Toolbag and Substance Painter are my recommendations. So, yeah.
And just one follow up on that, from your portfolio, it seems like you also do quite a bit of work with the Unreal Engine or in the Unreal Engine. Can you tell a little bit about that?
Yes. So Unreal is more of like a game engine that's like, it's similar to Unity if you've used that before. But what it is it's more of a like, I like to call it like a compositing software, because you don't go into Unreal Engine and make models really. Like you can go onto like the Unreal Engine store, or marketplace, I think it's called, and you can download your assets, you can download textures, you can download all this cool stuff, and then you can put it together in Unreal Engine, right? It's like, it's kind of like the sandbox that you're like, I have all this cool stuff, I'll put it over here. But then you have like ZBrush and Maya where you're kind of making all of it. You can make finished stuff in here. You can't like play games in Maya, right? It's like if you're trying to like make a game or you're trying to make like cool cinematics, you can do that. You can do cinematics in Maya, but you can also do it in Unreal Engine. So you have a lot more options there. Where are they going with that? But yes, Unreal Engine is fantastic.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing that. And I'll pass it back over to Richie for our last few questions.
Yeah, our last slide is kind of talking to our school administrators here for a second. So why do you think, Cullen, schools today should support their students' love of gaming?
I think we should support it because it's what brings them joy at the baseline, right? Like I there's times in class where it's like kids will try to pull up games, all that stuff, and it's like, yes, I might let them get away with it a little bit for some time because I'm like, yeah, it's like cool, play your games as long as you did your work and you're like you're doing fine. Play your stuff. I don't think games are great if they're used as a distraction from doing like what you need to be doing. It's like if you've done what you need to do, go play games. Like if I'm ahead on a project, I'm gonna go play Rivals. I'm gonna go play Destiny, right? Like it's like I'm gonna go take my break. I'm gonna go have fun. And my school does a fantastic job of actually doing esports. So we have that as a thing already here. I'm not on the committee or like involved in it yet. I plan to be, but that just happened and wrapped up, I think, last month. We had a huge, like a Smash Bros. We had, I think, Fortnite and Rocket League, and I believe League of Legends. So yes, again, it's like, it's a thing you should support because kids like to do it. And it's like, you should probably try to find out why they have fun there. And if you can, that's a way to talk to them, way to get to know your kids, way to understand like what they're thinking. This isn't even just about schools. I think parents should support games, because if you try to take something away from them, they're going to want it more. So there's always that like kind of like push and pull thing. It's like, okay, but if you kind of like dive in and you understand why they like it, you know when they can take breaks and why they should be taking breaks. I'm like, is this game live? Can you pause it? It's like, if you can ask them that question, like, oh, you kind of get it, don't you? So they're no longer like hiding this thing from you. And if you know about it, then they can't get away with as much unhealthy use of the gaming, right? So it's like, the more you know about what kids are doing, the better it is for them, because then you can stop, like, again, the unproductive or the unhealthy usage of that kind of stuff. So again, giving them an avenue like esports, like that we're here to talk about, right, is amazing. So it's like you have a focused version of gaming, right? So yeah.
Building that structure for productive gaming. Yeah. Absolutely. And then the follow-up, you mentioned your team's sort of robust esports team, but how can schools and school leaders today support their students' love for gaming?
I think, I guess, smallest way to start out would just even be opening the discussion for it. Probably not done often enough. I think kids like being on committees. That is like, come in and do a committee. But it's just like, bring in a bunch of kids that might be interested, or even just like open it up, like kind of put it on like a board, be like, sign this QR code, come sign up. We're going to talk about esports, possibly coming to our school, or just like, we're going to talk about your guys' love for games. And we want to hear from you about why you like them. Like, what games are you guys playing? Like, what's going on here? Roblox is somehow still huge. I don't know how that happened. I don't play it, but it is massive. I don't think there's competitive Roblox, but in that avenue, it's just like, yeah, open up the discussion with the students and kind of have them lead it. Like, they'll know what they need. Like, if you're just like, well, I don't know what we need to like get them this stuff. It's like, okay, well, if you talk to them, they're going to have like all these ideas. They're like, I want a computer. We need computers, we need Xboxes, we need TVs or whatever for this to happen. That's a good way to start it. Again, just to reiterate, just talk to them. They're people. I know they're like scary and they're like smaller than you, but at the end of the day, it's like students are just humans learning how to live in the world. And this is something that we've put in front of them that they're like, shiny object. I love it. This makes me happy. I'm going to do this. So.
Absolutely. Very well said. And I will just reemphasize to our listeners and students and coaches the thing, Cullen, you mentioned about a lot of the educational licenses being free. So
yes.
While you're still in school, while you're still in college, or maybe you're an educator that's looking to get into this, right? Take advantage of that and check out some of those licenses for Maya or for some of the other tools, since you are able to take advantage of those.
Yeah,
free.
And there are educator packages. So if you have if you're at a school and you're listening and you have a computer lab, you could get some free software on those computers and just go through that and see if you can even spark students' interest in learning any of this stuff sooner, because it is really cool. And again, it's like you play a game, you play a movie, all the stuff that's making that experience happen is made by someone. Like, whether you want to believe it or not, right? Like, it's like the sound is just literally all of it. Like, it was crafted.
Awesome. And with that being said, we are out of time, but we want to thank our listeners. Cullen, we are so grateful to have the privilege of having you on as our guest. Thank you for sharing our experience with our audience.
Awesome.
Thank you, Cullen. And as always, thank you to everyone watching. Stay safe and happy gaming. Bye-bye.
Bye.